Hello everyone, I am Dr. Tamer Seçkin and I am an endometriosis surgeon. My passion is to treat the disease endometriosis. As you may all know, endometriosis is a disease that affects females of reproductive age in their most productive years, however causing them severe loss of quality of life, subfertility, infertility, major cause of hysterectomy, and #1 cause of pain in women. Today, I will introduce you a series of very interesting individuals, professionals, and some patients who are willing to come out and share their experience with you. But let me introduce these friends of mine, my circle, who we have worked together for many years, who have also taught me, and we have shared a lot of knowledge, and that's how we work with endometriosis patients. It's a team practice. Particularly excited to hear from two special patients. One is a former CNN correspondent, Lizzie. She will tell you her ordeal with endometriosis, walk you through, and many of you will identify and sympathize with her issues that she will candidly go over.
The first time I got sick, I was 14 years old. I went to the emergency room thinking maybe I had appendicitis, and they ran some tests. I didn't seem to have appendicitis, but I had this terrible pain. No one really seemed to know what it was, and so I went home. And I would say that kind of pain, those episodes of back and forth from the emergency room, going to the doctor, not knowing, that went on for years, almost 20 years. When I think through being a teenager up till now, and I'm 37, I have probably seen maybe 15 different doctors. More if you count all of the various residents and interns and medical students who were buzzing around me in hospitals. And I've had a lot of bowel symptoms. I had bowel endometriosis. I had pretty extensive bowel surgery. And so when you add into that, I have seen gynecologists, neurologists, GI folks, general surgeons, laparoscopic specialists, every kind of doctor under the sun that focuses on this area. I was finally diagnosed when I was 35. I went to a new surgeon on the recommendation of a new GP, and my GP thought maybe I had a hernia. And the surgeon said, absolutely not. I am 90% sure you have appendicitis. And I said, you gotta be kidding me. I've been through this since I was a teenager. There's no way I have appendicitis. But on that day, I could barely walk. I was bent over, clutching my abdomen. We went in. He said, some of your inflammatory markers look very high. I think you have appendicitis. I went under expecting a 90-minute surgery, and I woke up 5.5 hours later. I think I was dismissed on a number of different fronts. Number one, I was told I probably had ovarian cysts, that cystic ovaries were common in my family. When I would have one of these episodes of very sharp pain, it was thought that maybe I'd had a cyst that had ruptured. I had a diagnostic laparoscopy when I was 30, but it was either not that well done or my disease just wasn't showing itself there at that point, because no endometriosis was found. There was some irritation, some inflammation, but they weren't looking in the right place. And as someone with a pretty complicated case of endometriosis, it would have taken a lot of careful thinking to know you need to look in her small intestine, because that's where this thing has decided to hang out. It's been very hard professionally. I always got sick a lot. I got stomach bugs easily. I had just kind of a weak immune system. I was often quite run down. The moment that I had the surgery that found my endometriosis was also a moment that had coincided with me doing extremely well professionally. I was a TV correspondent for Bloomberg News. I had just spent 4 months in Louisiana covering the BP oil spill. I lived on location continuously. I was then kind of riding high going into the 2012 election campaign, wanting to be able to cover that, and my body would just give out. I would find that if I did an exhaustive and pretty typical television day of an early call and shooting all day, then trying to write a script and be on the air, that I couldn't do it. One of the producers who oversaw my work called me unreliable. I was told that maybe my commitment to what I was doing wasn't strong enough. Many people implied that maybe I was just malingering. So when I finally had the surgery that found my endometriosis, I felt sort of validated that I wasn't crazy. I knew there was something that was wrong with my body, and there was something wrong with my body. But that surgery required taking about 6 weeks off of work to heal from. We then hosted a presidential debate, and after anchoring part of that day and getting through the night's debate, I collapsed and had to be out of work for another week. Then my disease, felt better. I went on progestins. I did a little bit better. I froze my eggs, and I got the chance to be a CNN correspondent. They hired me, and I was thrilled. And I did pretty well for a few months, and then the endo came roaring back. And working in a very competitive, deadline-driven environment where weakness is really something you can't have, and being sick is really something you can't have, was extremely difficult. I mean, I'd worked so hard to do this job, and I had an all-male producing team. They were very sympathetic, but probably a little bit baffled when I would sprint from the studio and throw up in the trash can, and then try to sort of clean myself up and go back on air. So I took a leave from CNN to have another surgery, and did that for a while, but just didn't get well enough, and in January I had to leave for good. The earlier you make a lot of noise and figure out what is going on, the better off you will be personally, emotionally, romantically, professionally. Do everything you can to get help early. You do not have a low threshold for pain. This is not something you are supposed to endure. I shouldn't have been taking handfuls of Advil and Vicodin to get through a week, a month. That's not normal. But I was embarrassed, and I thought I was a wuss. And I probably did a lot more damage to my body in that intervening period of time than if I had pushed harder from the get-go. And I am not a shrinking violet. I've interviewed politicians, CEOs. I have worked in very intense conditions after natural disasters. If it takes someone like me this long to get diagnosed, that's a bad sign. Don't take no for an answer and be your own advocate. And even the people closest to you who may love you very much can't know what's going on in your own body, so you have to trust yourself.